I'm against this huge globalization on the basis of economic advantage.
But this is all changing now. This is fundamentally changing. So globalization as we've known it, hyper-globalization as we've known it, is over. It's finished. It's done. It's not coming back. Okay? That doesn't mean globalization has finished. It doesn't mean that there's no more globalization. What it means is that the nature of globalization has changed. And as we will discuss today, it's more of a landscape of glocalization, right? A fracturing landscape, a landscape where long extended, hyper extended global value chains are balkanizing. They're fracturing, they're localizing, they're regionalizing. And frankly, if you factor in geopolitical risk, if you factor in carbon footprints and climate change, and if you factor in risks to single source supply chains because of a pandemic or the next pandemic, when that happens, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Alex Capri teaches MBA and executive education at the National University of Singapore. He has worked extensively in China and Asia, where he was a partner and regional leader of KPMG's Asia Trade and Customs practice. Alex is a regular panelist and workshop leader for the World Economic Forum and has written for Forbes Asia, Nikkei Asia, and other publications. And he is a frequent guest on global television and radio networks.
So laissez-faire saw the rise of a new superpower, but it wasn't adhering to the same rules and the same standards. It was a state-centric, mercantilist country, and it essentially has upended the international system. And of course, with the geopolitics involved, that bifurcation that we used to see is no longer happening. Now that is more of a mercantilist. If you then factor in all of the other economic activity that is emerging, which I'll get into shortly, that is a paradigm shift. That's a major paradigm shift. Okay? Politics involved, we're now witnessing this whole scenario of backlash and restructuring and so forth. So the laissez-faire camp is now confronted with a very pervasive managed trade mindset, meaning that governments intervene in markets, governments choose favorites, they choose national champions, governments protect favorite companies, governments promote national mercantilist policies, which we'll talk about. Governments protect markets, they close off markets. They do all of this, and a focus has been on technology. Hence the term that I've been using a lot, and that's techno-nationalism. So laissez-faire has moved to a new kind of nationalism.
Laissez-faire meaning that the government is hands-off policy for industry. He's describing big business partnering with government, and this has a variety of different terms throughout history: fascism, oligarchy, plutocracy, global corporations, oil conglomerate, multinational financial institutions, tech giants exert influence not only nationally but internationally, sometimes rivaling the power of nation-states.
Is really the most consequential changes that we've seen to the international system really, truly since the Second World War. Okay? We are going through historic change, and I don't think a lot of people have really come to fully grasp the scale of that. I don't think people in the corporate world, these are people, I should add that I spent 20 years as a consultant, mostly as a partner at KPMG and PwC And that was all out here in Asia. And I spent my career building global supply chains, mostly into China, right? Linking the world to China and Southeast Asia, but mostly to China, right? So this China-centric model of offshoring and not just globalization, but hyper globalization. That's been really good to a lot of people.
Globalization is when everybody in the world is now serving a purpose and part of a larger economy. But what happens when machine to machine payments are introduced and AI and 3D printing technologies and all of these new technologies that aren't necessarily people, but interconnected into this economy of scale?
So that's another reason why some companies will just say, forget it, I'm localizing. I'm moving forget it. I'm not running my supply chain through Pakistan anymore. I've got robots and automation that can do all that stuff. I don't need 50 people in Vietnam putting together a running shoe for me. Has anybody been to a shoe factory in Vietnam lately? I mean, like in the last year or two? I mean, go to a Nike shoe factory or an Adidas shoe factory. What? Are you kidding me? There's like somebody's gluing something on the shoe by hand, passing it down the line, and someone else is slapping something on by hand, then it goes into a heater. I'm thinking, wait a second. Wait, we got 3D. How long is this model gonna hold up?
Liberty Defense is a sponsor of this show, ticker LDDFF. They offer a technology that scans people for ghost guns and other non-metallic threats. 3D printing is just one element that will make the supply chain quicker, faster, and more effective. 3D printers do not need to take breaks. They can work 24/7. Not to mention, when they do start to break down, the parts are easily replaced, allowing for 24/7 efficiency. Understand that 3D printing is just one aspect of this. You match artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, cross-border payments, instantaneous settlement. The list goes on. And what you're creating is a 24/7 platform that works in real time to move money, transactions, valuables across ledgers. This will significantly boost the role of the US dollar because there's now new demand for US dollars. Not to mention other use cases like agentic payments, as well as smart contracts and escrows, will have other use cases for US dollar denominated stablecoins, having a feedback loop into the stablecoin network. 3D printings are also opening an array of possibilities that are not only positive, but some are negative.
Wait a second. Wait, we got 3D printing. Wait a second. Wait, we got 3D printing. Wait a second. Wait, we got 3D printing. How long is this model gonna hold up?
Technology is accelerating at an incredible pace. 3D printing, AI, and advanced manufacturing are reshaping industries faster than most people realize. Young investors can now design and prototype new products overnight with a 3D printer, something that used to take months and millions of dollars. This will forever change the economic landscape and global trade. Cheap labor is no longer the only factor. When machines can print clothing, parts, and even 3D printed homes, the supply chains are evolving rapidly. Every benefit, there are also risks. Just as crypto has been used in both legitimate and illicit ways, 3D printing has opened the door for ghost guns, untraceable firearms made from plastic or 3D printed parts. It's already been linked to real-world violence, and websites are selling ghost gun kits openly, making this an emerging national security issue. The Supreme Court has ruled that ghost guns are protected under freedom of speech. However, there are certainly a lot of restrictions around ghost guns. Law enforcement, as well as victims of family members that were killed or hurt by ghost guns, are lobbying Congress and trying to repeal laws surrounding ghost guns.
On Valentine's Day, Fred Gutenberg's entire life changed when he lost his daughter Jamie in the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School.
I have spent since February 14th traveling this country talking about guns.
His newfound activism brought him to Washington, D.C. this week, but his mission there has recently changed.
This changes everything.
Because a settlement from the government now allows the release of blueprints online for people with a 3D printer to print a gun.
And anybody will be able to make guns at home.
A lot of concerns have been raised. Printed plastic guns could get through metal detectors.
All of our student hardening talk that we've been doing in Florida and across the country, it won't matter. Airplanes, airports.
Normally, I'm a libertarian and I believe in free markets as well as maximalizing individual liberties. With ghost guns, however, there are innocent people being harmed. So, where is the proper regulations around ghost guns? This is where the free market comes in. Liberty Defense has developed HexWave technology that is able to scan people before they enter an airport or a crowded building in order to make sure that they're not holding weapons on their person. This is a way to prevent people from being harmed and at the same time allow maximal freedom. Now, with Liberty Defense systems, there are mandates in order to have Liberty Defense technology scanning airports and other crowded buildings as well as courtrooms. So, just looking at the price and market cap of Liberty Defense compared to the potential earnings in the future, not even the long-term future, but the short-term future, there seems to be room for exponential growth. TSA is mandating some of these laws and putting them into effect in April 2026. When we look at Liberty Defense's competition, you'll see that most of the competition does not check all of the boxes. Liberty Defense has an advantage over every single one of these different product providers. Liberty Defense LDDFF is down 87% in 7 months. The company raised $45 million at its current market cap, and it's only $16 million, and it has developed and began commercializing one of the most competitive and innovative products of its kind. In my opinion, in accordance to Trump's TSA mandate and DHS requirements, to make America safe and airports efficient and much more travel-oriented. It raised millions of dollars at share prices at around 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 times the current price. It raised $3.5 million in quarter one at 5x or 500% higher than today's price. Today's share price is near an all-time low. This is the first and primary reason for the timing of this alert. So check out Liberty Defense Next Generation Security Detection. Now, not only is Liberty Defense working on finding ghost guns, but they're also able to find explosive devices, IEDs, ghost guns, AR-15s, 9mm semi-automatics, AK-47s, 600 rounds of ammunition, 3D printers. The list goes on and on. Liberty Defense Holding is addressing major security threats, and the government has already expressed interest in their products and solutions. This is the most important part of this. Liberty Defense is working closely with Trump's TSA in what could be a game-changing moment for the company. The Department of Homeland Security and TSA are not only impressed with the company's products, but the TSA has actually granted Liberty Defense a sole source contract with $6 million in grants. A sole source contract is a non-competitive agreement where single suppliers is chosen to provide a unique product because they are capable of meeting a specific requirement.
What it means is that the nature of globalization has changed. And as we will discuss today, it's more of a landscape of glocalization, right? A fracturing landscape, a landscape where long extended, hyper extended global value chains are balkanizing. They're fracturing, they're localizing, they're regionalizing. And frankly, if you factor in geopolitical risk, if you factor in carbon footprints and climate change, and if you factor in risks to single source supply chains because of a pandemic or the next pandemic, when that happens, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, it's time to restructure global value chains. And it's time to move them as local as possible. And frankly, if you can make local and buy local, then produce local. Do it locally. You'll save the environment and you'll gain all those other benefits as well.
Trade as we know it is breaking apart, not ending, mutating. As the old order phrase, a new tech-driven architecture of production, trust, and security is taking shape. We are literally sending raw materials across the globe for cheap labor to turn the raw materials into goods and services that we later purchase at a higher price. All this includes shipping, correspondent banking, the list goes on and on of costs and fees, and this was the cheapest possible route. The World Bank, the World Trade Organizations, these centralized institutions are trying to keep their jobs. And basically, what they want is for there to be a reliance on these different institutions, but the reality is technology is opening the door to remove these institutions entirely. At the time of banking and settlement times and central banks and the IMF and the World Bank, all of these were necessary institutions at the time for efficiency to take place in the macro economy. But now that we're moving into these new technologies like 3D printing, agentic payments, machine-to-machine payments, the Internet of Things, cloud computing, the list goes on and on. There's really no need to have these centralized institutions to ensure that everybody gets paid because it's written directly into ledgers that are enforceable by code. If you're totally illiterate and living on $1 a day, the benefits of globalization never come to you. Thanks everyone for watching the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Also, check out the sponsor, Liberty Defense. Don't take my word for it. Look into the prospectus, look into the financial information, the charts, all of the information that is necessary to make educated decisions. Thanks everyone for watching the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe.